How many of you all are big fans of country music? Man, big fans. Oh, this is not as prevalent as 8:30. Who would have thought? But still, a lot of country music fans. A lot of country music fans. I like country music, and I've been thinking about this week. That what do you have to be an excellent country music singer? What do you think it is? What do you say?
A voice.
A voice. That's always a good thing. Anybody else? What's that? Oh, I can't hear everybody.
A fiddle in the band.
A fiddle in a band. Yeah, especially in Texas, right? Oh. The one thing you have to be an exceptional country music singer is a broken heart. I'm from Nashville. I've seen it happen. A lot of people will come through the town. They don't really take off. They're singing all these great songs, but nobody's really feeling it. And then it never fails. Some lady will break their heart. She'll crush it and stomp on it. And then all of a sudden they will be inspired and they will write this beautiful song that we can all feel because we've all had our heart broken, right? And then they become famous country music stars. So next time you have your heart broken, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, write something awesome. Have you ever had your heart broken? If you've never had your heart broken, we're really happy that you arrived here on planet Earth this morning. Thank you for joining Bandera Methodist. It's great to have you here. Most of us have had our hearts broken before. And, we've all said that thing, right? That thing we have when we get our hearts broken. We say, I'm never going to do that again, right? I'm never going to love again. I'm never going to open my heart up to someone. I'm not going to give my heart to someone else, right? Because I don't want to feel this pain again, because it's bad, right? It's bad. Some of you might be out there right now, a broken heart. I'm so sorry. It's bad. But then what happens? Little time later, we decide to give it another chance. Most of us. Some of us, it might take a year because we really, we've got our guard up. For other of us, it's an hour later when the cute guy walks into the movie theater, But we all have different timelines, but eventually we put ourselves back out there because we know that it's better to put ourselves out there and give us the hope of being loved than to never be loved. It's better to take the risk, to take the chance, and to be loved, to put our heart out there. It's amazing to think we serve a God that is so weak that his heart breaks. It's really interesting because none of the other fake gods of that time or before would ever have a broken heart. That's something that gods didn't do, right? Gods were up there. They were sitting on thrones. I mean, you might go to them and make a sacrifice and say, please help me. But you never had a God that would cry, right? You never had a God that would feel regret, that would feel grief for his people, that would cry in front of a tomb because nobody really believed that a resurrection could take place. They would never experience a God that would watch the rich young ruler walk away and tears would come into his eyes because he knew that the rich young ruler was lost. But that's the kind of God that we serve. We serve a God, the author of Hebrews says this, that can relate to everything that we're going through. We serve a God who's had his heart broken. How amazing is that? That you can go to God in prayer and he's had his heart broken. It's amazing when you think about it. If you go on a tour to the Holy Land, they'll take you to this place. I haven't done it, but this is what I've heard from people who have. They'll take you to this place where they debate things, but they're like 95% sure that this is where this scripture took place. They come around this hill, they're going up this hill, and they get to this place right around the corner where all of a sudden you can see the entire entire city of Jerusalem from above. I don't know if you've ever, Cincinnati's like this, for those of you who've traveled into the South, the Midwest. There's a couple other cities where the interstate will just come over and it's not all at, just all at once. You don't see it coming in the distance. It's just boom, there it is. You just go over the hill and there's Cincinnati or there's Nashville or whatever, and you just kind of takes your breath away for just a moment until you get used to it. And so that's the moment that Jesus is having. Jerusalem is the holy city, the city of God, the city of David. And he approaching the city, and he gets to this spot, and all of a sudden, there it is. Jerusalem. The city. And in that moment, he looks out at the temple, all the little fires, the smoke rising, the buildings. I don't know if he could hear the commotion of the people, but he starts crying. Jesus has his heart break. And I feel like if you can read this text that John read, I'm not a good enough actor to do it. But if you could somehow read this, that first part where it says, and Jesus wept, and it's a continuation. He wept and said. You have to picture Jesus saying all of those words, weeping. We don't do that. We picture Jesus looking out over Jerusalem like this. Oh, Jerusalem, you people, you're never going to listen, are you? Well, guess what? In 70 AD, the Romans are going to come and tear every stone off its place. And he just shakes his head and he walks off, right? That's kind of what we picture, but that's not what it says. Every word he says, he's saying while he is weeping. His heart is breaking. He loves those people. Jerusalem, if you could only see the truth. How many times have the prophets tried to tell you what is coming? Even now, if you would just turn and see what is right in front of you. But you won't. And so he makes the amazing prophecy. It really is amazing. Scholars, they debate a lot of things. They're pretty certain that the gospel was written before 70 AD, before these events happened. And Jesus says that this is going to happen. Not one stone is going to be left upon another. And so the Romans came and they built the embankments and they destroyed the city. They were so tired of the Jews rebelling, of the problems, that finally they were like, we've had enough. Let's tear this temple down to the point that they will never build it back. Let's destroy it to the point where we take away their hope. Let's end this once and for all. And that's what they did. If you go to Jerusalem today, you can see the piles of these giant stones. Some of them are as big as automobiles, just laying around. Never been built back. Destroyed for 2,000 years. And so Jesus weeps. It's amazing to serve a God who's willing to take the risk to love again. A God who's had his heart broken so many times, but he continues to chase. He continues to weep. He continues to search for the one lamb, search for the lost. We see this throughout the Bible. This isn't anything new in this moment. It goes all the way back to Genesis 6, where it says that God feels regret that he made human beings, because human beings are doing nothing but evil. Like, we can't even come to grips with that. And it says that if they're not actually doing evil, then they're just sitting around thinking about doing evil. That's how bad it was. And so God says, I can't take this anymore. We just need to do what has to be done. But even then, Even then, God provides a way of salvation. God keeps it going. We see it over and over again, where God's people have their hearts broken, where God's people looks out into the lost, the people that are lost in the world with broken hearts. We see it from Jeremiah. Jeremiah says, if only my head was water and my eyes were fountain, it would be better, because I could just cry nonstop for all of these lost people. Jeremiah could feel what God was feeling, that it was breaking his heart. In Hosea, God says, oh gosh, I mean, he's basically like a parent saying, you're driving me crazy, but I've raised you since you were a little child. I'm not going to give up on you now. Ezekiel gets taken up to where the exiles are, where the captives are, and he gets to watch what they're going through. And it says that Ezekiel cannot talk for 3 days because of what he sees. Ezekiel's heart is broken because he sees people that are lost and in need of saving. There was a pastor in Nashville when I was growing up. He was an older guy, and he would get into really kind of fiery messages. I liked those back then. Might have rubbed off on me a little bit, I don't know. But he would give these messages, and every now and then, I'm not making this up, he would have to stop preaching, and someone would have to finish. And it wasn't an act or anything. The person finishing had no idea what was going on, because he would think of a person who was lost and he would break down. Because he would think to himself, this person was in this church. I had the chance to say something to him. I could have done something, and now they are lost. And he literally could not continue preaching. You ever been lost? Not like a little lost, but like your GPS is pointing you to a place where there's just this road that ends in this nothingness, like that kind of lost. Like where you're worried about the bars on your phone, they're starting to go little by little. That's like lost, the kind of lost where you call somebody up and you're like, hey, I'm lost. You gotta help me. You gotta help me get out of this. And what does the person ask you on the phone? The first thing they say? Well, where are you? You're like, well, if I knew that, I wouldn't be lost, right? I could fix this situation myself. I wonder if we've forgotten that hopeless feeling of knowing that there is something wrong inside of us and we can't fix it. We're lost. Don't know where to go. Lost. We will do so many things to find someone physically, right? It's interesting to me. Like if, God forbid, we lose a child in the woods or something, I bet the whole city of Bandera would come out and take places, right? Like a couple yards apart. We will comb those woods. We are going to find that kid, right? Or if a hiker goes missing, we're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to get the people that can physically do it, the people who, know a little something about the woods, and we are going to go out there and we are going to find that hiker. We loved the story about the airman that was lost in Iran, right? Because we were going to do anything to bring that guy back. I mean, we risked the lives of 200 at least people to bring him back, because we were not going to let that person fall into enemy hands. We will do whatever it takes to find someone who is lost. But that's the job of the church, spiritually. But the church has forgotten what our main mission is. We've talked about this a little bit over the last couple of weeks, It's interesting. The American church is like what I like to say about it. I'm not saying anything about Bandera Methodist. It's all over the place. It's the church in America at this age. But this is what we've done. We've said to the world, we love Jesus. We're good people. We're going to visit each other in the hospital. We're going to teach each other. We're going to, like we said last week, we're going to greet each other with big hugs when they walk in the door. We're going to make some mean casseroles. We're going to do some awesome stuff. You guys know where we are, right? You come find us if you have a question about Jesus. We are right here. And I love us, right? Because we've done it. We've done everything. We've done it all. Everywhere you come into town in Bandera, you got the sign. The white sign, right? Bandera Methodist Church. These are our service times. Our Sunday school is 9:45. You gotta catch it quick as you're driving by. You got the website there, hopefully, maybe a phone number or something like that. We want everybody to know that if you're looking for Jesus, we're right here. Come knock on the door. We will open it. We will greet you. We will hug you. Come. And it's easy to find this church, right? Because we stretch. We don't build bigger buildings. We build more buildings. We make them get longer like a shopping mall. And I'm not knocking that. I like that, so don't take that the wrong way. But, we stretch out. If you drive around Bandera at all, you're going to run into Bandera Methodist Church. There's some churches around here, I still don't know where they are. I see the signs. I see people post about them on social media. I'm like, honey, have you seen that one? No, I don't. But we don't know where they are. Cowboy Fellowship, I've heard that's a great church. No disrespect at all. I have no idea where they are. I see the billboard. I don't know where they are. But yet they grow. But we've got this great location. People know where we are. They should all just be coming to knock on the door and ask the pastor questions about Jesus, shouldn't they? We are here for them. I'm being silly. But we've forgotten what it's like to be lost. When you're lost, you don't know you're lost. You don't even know that you need saving at some point. Somewhere along the line, the American church stopped having its heart broken for lost people the way that Jesus has his heart broken. Somewhere along the line, we stopped being like Ezekiel, like Jeremiah. We stopped weeping over people who were lost. Church, your neighbors really are lost. That's true. Some people will come up to me and say things to me as a pastor. They'll say something like, hey, I'm going to this college next year, and I'm worried that I'm going to be the only Christian there. Or you'll say something like, hey, I started this job, and I'm in this office now, and I think I'm the only Christian there. Will you pray for me, Pastor? I'm part of this organization, and I think that I am the only Christian there. Pastor, please pray for me in this situation that I find myself in. And you know what my response is to them? I will pray for you. I will pray that 6 months from now, you are not the only Christian in that office. I will pray for you that you're not the only Christian in your class, that you're not the only Christian on the soccer team, that you're not the only Christian in the organization. Not that God will save you from some kind of persecution, but that you will open your eyes to realize that God has sent you to that place because those people are really lost. We have forgotten as a church that people are lost. The people in the office are lost. And God has looked at you and said, you know what? I love you. It's time for you to do this. And God has sent you there. That's the church. The church is 100 different people coming together to encourage each other, to build each other up, to pray for each other, and then to send us out to reach the lost, because they don't come to us. We go to them. The shepherd goes to the sheep. Jesus looks for the sheep. The sheep doesn't look for Jesus. I find it funny when someone comes up to me and says, hey, Tim, I found Jesus. I'm like, no, you didn't. Jesus wasn't lost. You didn't find Jesus. He wasn't out there going, help, help. No, Jesus found you. And when Jesus finds people, he uses his church, the mission, the movement, the fire. Because our neighbors really are lost. I'm just going to tell you one story, and I bring my stool out to tell stories sometimes because it keeps me from rocking. You know how I do that? I hate that. I see it on video later. I'm like, Tim. So when I want to tell an important story, I try to plant myself. But the youth group is a great example of this, of what I'm trying to say. Because in the youth group, if you notice, and this is like this in every youth group I've ever been at, the youth meetings are usually much bigger than the Sunday school classes at the church. And everybody was like, well, why do those kids not come to church? And it's because most times their parents don't come to church. They don't believe in Jesus, but the kid gets involved in the youth group. And so it gives us a great opportunity to reach a family. And I was at one church, and it was like really, this was a big thing. And the youth director and I were talking about how we can help these kids. And so we tried to get into their lives a little bit and see what are they really struggling with. And it came out that a lot of the kids were having problems with their dads. They didn't know their dads in a lot of situations. They didn't have good relationships with their dads. And so we started this little series, it's called like, When Dads Disappoint and Moms Do, I can't remember what it's called, but something like that. And it was amazing as the weeks went by and we really got into what was in their hearts and we started unpacking it. It was heartbreaking. And we get to the end, and you know how I like to do like dramatic little things where you bring things up and you get water and some weird little things like that. But so we had this ending thing where everybody was going to write a letter to their dad. And they were just going to do whatever they wanted to with it. But just write whatever you're feeling that you want your dad to know about. And some people got done right away and they brought their card up, and others, it was taking them a while. They were struggling. It's like, Pastor, what do I write? I haven't seen my dad in years. What do I write? And I would try to tell them, well, just start with, I don't like that it ended this way, or I don't like that we haven't talked in years, or something like that. And they would come through, and some of them actually mailed them to their dad, which was interesting, the responses. But there was one girl at the very end who had not wrote anything on her card. And she finally came up to me and said, Pastor Tim, there's nothing I can say. I've thought about it, and and there's nothing I could say. I said, well, there's got to be something. Just say, Dad, I don't know what's going on, but she said, you don't understand, Pastor. My dad started abusing me when I was 6 years old. And she just broke down. Pastor, what do I write to the man who abused me? and was taken away. They separated us. And I said, you know what? Just right. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. And then we continued talking, and I don't never have the words to say in those situations. And I just kept telling myself, Tim, hold it together, be strong. You're the pastor. You just be strong. And I would do the little thing with my eyes where I'd flicker them, try to keep myself from crying because she was breaking down. And so I left the building and I started walking to the car. And I said, Tim, just make it to the car. Because there were people all around. And I didn't want them to see the pastor just bawling on the way to the car. It's Wednesday night activities. So just make it to the car. I made it to the car. And I just placed my head on the steering wheel. And I said, God, I don't know how to reach these young people. I don't know how to reach people who are lost. But if you can show me how, I will do whatever I can do. Every now and then, God will take a pastor into a situation like that, I think, just to remind the pastor that with all the church busyness and everything, how important it is what we're doing. Church, the people out there that don't know Jesus, regardless of the kind of facade that they put on, they really are lost. And so I pray that God will help us find a way to reach them. I pray that God will break some of our hearts the way that Jesus' heart was broken when he saw Jerusalem. I pray that some of us will drive into Bandera and see the sign, Bandera Methodist Church, see the sign, welcome to Bandera, and we will look at it the same way that Jesus looked at Jerusalem and say, what can I do?